Hello, my name is Judy and I'm a volunteer teacher of English at the Refugee and Migrant Centre in Wolverhampton. I'm going to take an English lesson now, and the subject of the lesson is going to be the things that we eat with. It will be helpful if you have a piece of paper and a pen or pencil so that you can write things down as you go along. I will ask you some questions and you can pause the video while you write down your answer. I will give you all the answers at the end of the video. So, here we go. I've got some things here that are things that we use when we eat food. This is my first object. I think you will know what it is. Here we are. This is a knife. This is a knife. You will see that the way we spell knife is a little odd. It starts with a K, and usually we sound a K like K, but in knife it's a silent K and we say knife. We don't say knife. So here's a sentence. This is a knife. If we have more than one knife, we say it is a plural word. So here I have 3 knives. So instead of saying this is a knife, we now say these are knives. And you will see that instead of the F, we have a V. So when we make it plural, we change the F into a V. And then we add an S on the end. So for one, we say this is a knife. For more than one, we say these are knives. But we don't just use a knife when we eat. We might also use this. And do you know what it is? This is a fork. This is a fork. There we are, and it's the kind of fork that I would eat with. That's a singular, that's just one fork. If I have more than one fork, we need a plural word, and the plural word for fork is forks. So we just add an S. So I will say these are forks. I'll hold them there. These are forks. So it's easier than the word knife because we don't have to change anything to make it plural. We just add an S. These are forks. And then the last thing I'm going to show you is this. And I think you will know what it is. It's a spoon. So we say, look over the top here. This is a spoon. This is a spoon. And if we have more than one spoon, a little one as well here. There, I've got 3 spoons. 1, 2, 3. And I will say, these are spoons. And you can see that we've added an S at the end to make it plural. So these are spoons. Now, you might want to have your paper ready because I'm going to ask you some questions and I would like you to write down the answer. Okay. When you write the answer down, or while you write the answer down, you might like to press pause so that the video stops for a little while to give you time. So whenever you see that, it means pause the video, write down your answer. So I'm going to ask you, what is this? Now your answer has to be, it is a, you write it down, a fork, a spoon, a knife. Which one is it? Press pause while you do that. Second question. Hope you can remember. Here we are. My question is, what is this? You have to write your answer. It is a... Can you remember? Pause while you write your answer. There it is. And now you've got this, and I'm going to say, question 3, what is this? Your answer, it is a... Can you remember? And can you remember how to spell it? Pause while you write your answer down. Now, here we are. My question, not what is this, but what are these? Because there's more than one. Your answer should be, they are they spoons? Are they knives? Or are they forks? Pause while you write your answer down for number 4. Here we are. Here's the next picture. Now my question is, what are these? Because there's more than one. We don't say this, we say they are. Now, you write the answer. And don't forget, there's an S at the end. Pause while you do that. Making a tune here. Can you hear? Here we are, some others. And you know what the question is going to be? Question 6. What are these? Plural, don't forget. They are. You write your answer. Pause while you do it. And it's plural, so you have an S at the end of the word. Right, that's the end of the questions for now, but we'll have some more questions in a few minutes. Now, in my hand, I've got a fork, a spoon, and a knife. And they're all things that we eat with. And the collective word for things that we use for eating is this: cutlery. Now that's a word you may not have heard before, cutlery. So all of those things are pieces of cutlery. So that's quite a difficult word, and it would be really good if you can remember. So knives and forks and spoons are called collectively cutlery. Now we'll go back to knives, or a knife. Here's a knife. You've seen it before. Now, a knife is made up of two parts. It has a handle and it has a blade. So here we have the words written down. A knife has a handle and a blade. That's the handle, that's the blade. And the handle, there's a clue there, handle we hold in our hand. So there we are, the handle we hold in our hand. Now here's my fork. Now a fork has a handle. That's the handle. It's a different sort of handle to the knife. Again, we hold that in our hand. And then these, there are some different words we can use, but the simplest word for these at this end of the fork are the prongs. So we have a fork has a handle and it has some prongs. This one has got 4 prongs. This one, which we wouldn't use for eating, we would use this for cooking really. This has 2 prongs. So if you want to know how to spell it, a fork has a handle and some prongs. And the prongs are plural because there's more than one. So we have an S on the end. So there's my fork with a handle and the prongs. And here's my spoon. My spoon also has a handle. Hold it in my hand. And then this end of the spoon is called the bowl because it's curved. So a spoon has a handle and a bowl. A spoon has a handle and a bowl. More questions, so get your paper ready and be ready to pause the video when you write your answer down. This is question 7. That way. What word do we use for knives, forks and spoons? I told you this at the beginning of this little section. Is it cutters, eaters or cutlery? What's the word that we use for all those things? Pause while you write your answer to question 7. Come round this way, let's have a different side. Question 8. What part of a knife, fork or spoon do we hold? Is it the top? Is it the handle? Or is it the blade? Pause while you write your answer to question 8. And now, question 9. On a fork, do we put food on the prongs, the handle or the pongs? Which one do we use to put food on, do you think? I'm going to stop there and show you. Oh no, I'm not. I'm going to ask you another question. Question 10. This way round. The 2 parts of a spoon are the handle and the, is it the bowl, the bowl or the dowel? Which of those words is it? The handle and the, pause while you answer question 10. That's the end of the questions for a little bit. Some more later. Let's have a look at this knife. This part of the knife is the blade. You learnt that earlier. This part is the handle. In this knife, the blade is made of metal. It's a metal. You can see it's shiny and metal. I think it's steel. The handle of this knife is made of, I think it's made of bone. It could be made of plastic, but this one is made of bone. So knives and cutlery generally can be made of different things. This knife is made of metal and bone. This knife, the blade is made of metal and the handle is made of metal. They're both made of metal. This knife, got rather sharp points there, has the blade made of metal and the handle is made of wood. You can see it's brown. If you look very carefully, you'll be able to see that's made of wood. And finally, this knife is made of all the same thing. It's made of plastic. So the blade is made of plastic and the handle is made of plastic. So, dear, the sun's come out now and got lots of shiny reflections, never mind. We say cutlery can be made from metal, plastic, wood or bone. There's some other things it might be made of as well, but those are the most usual. So now we know what they're made from. What are they used to do? Okay, my knife. What do I use a knife for? Well, the most common thing to use a knife for, here we are, we've got a piece of bread here on a plate. I am going to, if I can, cut the bread. There. So I have used my knife to cut. Cut is a verb because it's a doing word. I've cut the bread. Something else we can do with the knife is, here we are, do you know what that is? It's butter. Get some butter on the blade of the knife. And if I could hold it, I'm going to spread the butter on the bread. So I'm spreading, not very well, because normally I'd have this flat, but I've got to hold it up so you can see it in the video. So a knife is used to spread. To spread is a verb because it's a doing word. Now, this is a rather sharp knife here. This is used for something else. This knife is used to chop. So I'm going to chop this carrot. Oh, like that. And it's fallen off. So we can chop with a knife. To chop is a verb. I've written some of the things down. I can't show you all of them. So I said, knives are used to cut, chop, carve, dice. Now that's a different word I haven't told you about. To dice means to cut things into little cubes, into little squares. You might like to look that up in a dictionary. To fillet, that's a very difficult word. Look it up in a dictionary. To fillet means to take out the bones from something. So you might take the bones out of fish, or you might take the bones out of meat. A knife is used to slice. So you might want to slice bread or slice, and it's used to spread. And it's also used to carve. Carving is a kind of cutting, but we always carve meat. I can't show you all of those. Look them up in your dictionary. Now, the fork. What do we use the fork for? Well, see if I can do it with my bread. We use the prongs of the fork to stab food. We stab food. I wouldn't usually stab bread, but that's easy to show you. So we stab or spear. That's another word meaning the same thing. We also use a fork to hold food still when we're cutting it. So if I wanted to hold this carrot still whilst I cut it, I'd use the fork and then cut it. We use a fork to push food. So I might push some food, if I can do it, with my fork, onto my spoon, so I don't have to use my fingers. So we push food with a fork. And finally, we lift food to our mouth with a fork. I won't eat it because I won't be able to talk. But if I was eating a meal, I would use my fork to lift food to my mouth. In the UK, we never, well, very rarely, use a knife to put in our mouth. It is considered rude. So we do not use a knife to lift food to our mouth. And finally, spoon. Spoons are also used to lift food to the mouth. So if I had a bowl of soup here, which I haven't, I could do that with my spoon. Or if I had a nice ice cream, I could use my spoon to lift it to my mouth. We also use spoons to stir. So if I had a cup of tea or coffee, which I haven't, I could stir it up with the spoon. And if we're cooking, we'd use a big spoon like this one to mix, or stir. So here are the words. Spoons are used to lift food to the mouth, to measure, to mix, and to stir. Questions again. These are the last questions now. Question 11. You've got 3 parts to this. Pause whilst you do the answers. So, which are the correct words? A knife, look at it this way. A knife whisks or spears or cuts food. Which one of those is the right word? A knife whisks food, a knife spears food, or a knife cuts food? A fork slices food, measures food, or stabs food. Which one is correct? Write it down. And finally, a spoon dices food, or stirs food, or spears food? So that is question 11, and that's your last question, I think. Let me just check. Yes, you've got an activity. And finally, if you want to do an activity, here we are. You can do a word search. Now, I don't know if you know what word searches are, but this is what a word search looks like. And I've made up a word search for you on all the words that you have used today, or most of them, not all of them. And it's all about cutlery. And you have to find each of these words hidden in this square. Now, I think you may be able to download this from the RMC website. If not, what you have to do is to go to the internet, to this address here, and you will be able to do that word search online. So pause and you can copy that down, and then you'll be able to do a word search based on today's lesson. And last of all, here are the answers to all the questions. I'm not going to read them all out. I'm just going to hold it up in front of the camera. I'm going to hide behind the paper and pause, and then you can look at your answers and see if you've got them right. Here we are. They're numbered. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. And 11 had 3 different answers. So there we are. Pause while you have a look at that. There we are. And that's it for this lesson. So all I've got left to say is, what does that say? It says goodbye.